You're right.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to our City of Boardman City Council meeting, February 1, 2022. I hereby call this meeting to order. I'd like to invite everybody to stand up and do the flag salute. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do a roll call, please.
Leslie,
Here.
Paul Beagle,
Present.
Katie. Here. Junior,
Here.
Isaac,
Here.
Brenda. Here. And Paul Beaver.
Here. Do you have everybody up there that you need?
I do, I show Kelly Doherty, Katie Imes, Eklund, Aaron Moss, and Jonathan Paul.
All right. We'll discuss the approval of the minutes, January 4, 2022, regular meeting.
Mr. Mayor, motion to approve the regular minutes from January 4th, 2022.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion we'd like to have over that? Roll call, please.
Leslie,
Yes.
Paul Beagle,
I would approve it.
with the amendment that you showed me earlier.
Oh, yeah.
There was a.
I do have some questions on it though.
Okay. We'll do the discussion before.
Yeah, which, do you have anything you'd like to discuss before we continue with the vote?
Well, I on the clarification, I would like, on public works, I would like some clarification on what I asked the city manager last meeting about the test results for the backflow system.
What did we find out that he was doing with that? We're talking about,
The testing of the backflow.
and we talked to him the next day.
The backflow devices are tested. If they don't pass, then they don't get to turn their water back on. So the tester usually has additional parts for the backflow device, and they will repair it and test it again until it passes.
Thank you. Also, I have a question for the finance director about the closeout letter. Said it would be available for us at this meeting.
I was hoping so, but we have not received it yet.
Okay, those are my questions, Mr. Mayor.
There you go.
Ready?
Shouldn't have touched it, Taylor.
We'll continue with the vote.
Okay. Paul Beagle, Katie. Junior,
Yes.
Isaac,
Approved.
Brenda. Yes. And Paul Beaver.
Yes. All right, the financial report.
In our budget, we have some interfund transfers that we budget for. This is so we can move money into our reserves for future projects, future capital projects. And those transfers have been done in the month of December. That's why you see that new box on the lower right. That's just the summary of what fund the transfer came out of and what fund the transfer went into. And so that's why your revenues will look like, wow, we got a ton of money. Well, it's those transfers from one fund to another. And then back to, I was gonna bring the point with the migrant Head Start. We have not received the official closeout letter, but we have received the final funds in January. So in December, you see it as a negative. That's because we paid out some of those contractors to keep them a little happy. But we did receive the money. We have paid everybody out. So we're done with that financial piece. But according to, the Migrant Head Start rules, they can't occupy the building until we receive that final closeout letter from the grant. And so that's why you haven't seen any kids over there yet either. So we're all waiting for that final closeout letter.
Does that take care of the SDC waivers too?
No.
Okay. Are there any questions about the ending, financial report ending December 31st, 2021? What do we generally use the general reserve fund for? Is that just a reserve fund? Or,
We just, in the last 2 years, I think is the first time we've ever been able to fund that. And so we were pretty, I mean, our budget committee was pretty happy with us that we finally had gotten to where we have money we can put in that fund. And yes, we can use it for streets or whatever.
so we have a general reserve fund of 2 million and a general fund of 4 million plus, is that correct?
No, so out of the general fund, we transferred 4 million out. So if you look up top, your general reserve fund is number 300.
Yes.
And if you go all the way to the right, where the column says fund balance, that's our ending balance.
Of 3 million,
Mhm.
okay. So, okay, I see where that. Are there any questions about that, about what she was sharing? Okay, we'll move on to the 2021 SDC waivers, please.
In your packet, there is a printout of the SDC waivers. And Jackie had given me a sheet that I didn't get into the packet. But last year, we waived the 79,957, but we also collected 68,324. And that's the year we did the apartments and PDX 90 were the only 2 years that we've collected. Most of the time, it's been 12 or 15,000. And we've waived most of it. So this last year, with so much new building going on, we are at least collecting some SDC waivers. And we're going to have a meeting tomorrow with the firm that is doing the SDC waiver study. They're not done yet, but we're gonna have a meeting to see where they're at and whatever, so.
Is there any questions about the report of the SDC charges and the waivers? Okay, having hearing none, we'll go on to the prearranged presentations.
Can I say one more thing about the?
Yes, you may.
On the SDC waivers, part of the reason they put that on there, and then we decided not to do something with it. You know, at the first of the year, we normally decide that we're going to continue giving the waivers. And I think we should do that. I think we'll probably change it July, August, September, maybe the beginning of next year after we get the study. But anyway, if you're, I guess I'm looking for a little direction. If you want to change it rather than make it retroactive, it just makes it easier to me if we do our paperwork in like we're supposed to in the beginning of the year, and then, you know, decide later on that, well, oh, we've gotten a new report, because and I probably wouldn't date it for a year's time. I would maybe date it until June, till the end of the fiscal year or something, so that if you had to write a new SDC, you can always just repeal them, but still.
So it's already been a year since we last discussed that. Holy smokes. Going fast, because it seems like we just did it.
Oh.
Well,
So we should probably talk about that again.
Well, we can talk about it on Saturday if you like.
Well, Okay, that, I mean, we could add that to agenda if we have time for that, or I don't know what's planned for it.
Oh, I got a list.
I figured
This
that,
is
but
something that we can, address maybe in June or July for the upcoming year and start looking at different proposals. I didn't know that there was somebody coming and doing a study.
well, I think we asked that the study be done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
Hold, I can pass.
it goes from the beginning of the year. So
Right.
and when we don't pass it in January,
Mhm.
then they have to keep track out here, and then we give them retroactive.
Will.
Sure, I was just, do we wanna talk about redoing it, or do we wanna just leave things the way they are?
I'm paying a lot of money to have a study done. And so I think that whenever that study's done, then we'll take into real consideration. Because part of the new SDC study is going to be about if you want to add something on for streets and if you want to add something on for parks. So, and lots of, I mean, most all the towns charge for streets for sure, and we never have, we just charge water, sewer. So there's gonna be a big conversation about that. That's why I'm thinking that we should go ahead and just renew the one we've had in place for several years. And then, if we choose to make some changes to it, you can repeal that, make your changes and move forward. But you don't want, I mean, I'd be real hesitant to wait until June and have to give these people, like 6 months worth of fees retroactive back. Because what we do is we don't cash their check. If we think until we know they owe it. Well, I don't wanna keep somebody's check for 6 months, waiting for us to fill out the paperwork. Either.
Okay, so, yeah, I wasn't in possession of all those facts.
No, I'm sure you're not.
Oh, no.
And with the consultant we're working with, they may change some of the methodologies that we use to calculate.
Yes,
Sure,
So maybe we should put that on the agenda for our next meeting,
well, will they be done?
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do.
okay?
I'm just gonna make the new resolution and you guys can pass it. And we'll just keep going until we get a new change.
So you just give it a new number, and we'll do that today? Is that what you're saying?
No, it has to be in the packet, so we'll do a resolution.
So we're gonna put it in the next?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Okay,
Okay.
that sounds about right. That would be March. That'd be sooner than later.
It always sounds better when you say it out loud
Yes,
compared to thinking.
That's kind of what I was hoping we could do, just go forward with what we got
Yes,
and look at it later.
yes, and then we'll look at it whenever we get the report.
Okay.
okay, we can talk about that at our next meeting.
All right.
We ready for the prearranged presentation?
Yes.
All right, Aaron Moss, update on the county broadband. You are on.
Thank you, Mayor Kiefer, and thank you all for having me tonight. I am going to share my screen really quickly if I could. Is it possible to get that enabled? It's saying I can't right now. I have a brief PowerPoint prepared if.
He's working on it.
No worries. And I could send it over. Oh, there it goes. Never mind. That works. All right. Cool. Thank you very much. And can y'all see this?
We don't see it yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Can you stop sharing with that?
Sure.
There we go.
All right, we see it now.
Cool, awesome, thank you. I probably should have let you know ahead of time, and I apologize for that. Just been kind of throwing this together. Once again, thank you for having me. Today I'm going to provide a brief update of the work that the Morrow County Broadband Action Team is doing. And this comes all with the caveat that the BCEA and Boardman itself has done a lot of work expanding broadband access within Boardman, but with also kind of the idea that there still is work to be done, not only in infrastructure in the 97818 generally, but also with other digital affordability programs and efforts that can be made to get more people connected within Boardman. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Aaron Moss. I am a Lead for America and American Connection Project Fellow. There are like 8 different titles and programs that are combined into this. It's also an AmeriCorps partner program, and sponsors for my placement here in Oregon include Tillamook County, the Creamery Association, Land O'Lakes, Microsoft, Tractor Supply Company, Mayo Clinic, and others. I'm placed in the county, although I don't technically work for the county. I kind of am just supposed to work for the interest of broadband county-wide, generally speaking. And my role within the Broadband Action Team is a facilitator and kind of a coordinator, primarily getting the county ready, just the county as an area ready for grants that'll be coming down the line, as we find ourselves in kind of a historic moment for broadband investment, whether or not one is a fan of all the government spending. It has been spent and might as well funnel as much as we can to the areas of Oregon that really need this kind of infrastructure to set up a competitive rural and frontier Oregon for years to come. So the Broadband Action Team consists of groups across Oregon. Broadband Action Teams are groups across Oregon, normally at the city or county level, some at a regional level, coming together to kind of put together plans to fix broadband issues and what they call the digital divide at that local, county, or regional level. It includes largely community stakeholders, and the Morrow County Broadband Action Team is represented by each of these groups up here. I'm not going to go ahead and go through them, but I did just want to kind of reiterate and make clear that this project is important, that all groups are kind of working together towards the same goal. I think my role, as I see it, is one that is funded, at least in part, by Tillamook Creamery. And although I'm partnered, or not partnered, but placed at county offices, it's been a pleasure meeting everybody from not only at the county, but at the port, at the city of Boardman, and the cities across Morrow County in general. So as we work through this project, we're really trying to make it a cooperative effort and not one that is seen as just kind of an effort within a certain entity, no matter where initial funding ends up coming from, but as something that is really meant to address the gaps in broadband infrastructure and access that the free market hasn't addressed on its own, and that in some ways is making parts of Oregon less competitive than others just based on infrastructure and kind of meeting the fundamental necessities of what it means to compete in this economy and the increasingly technological world that we live in. The primary objectives of the Broadband Action Team are making high-speed broadband available, affordable, and then making sure it's leveraged primarily, providing the resources to enable it to be leveraged for education, healthcare, professional development, and economic growth, although we know it'll be used for Netflix and gaming as well. But really to make those kind of the central core of what we're trying to do here together as a group. So the project phases for our Broadband Action Team, which meets monthly, usually the first Tuesday of each month, and I would love to have any representative from Boardman join us if you would like to. I know Tori from the BCDA and Chamber is present, but I'm really open to getting as many people to the table as possible. I think at this point it's significant to continue to build momentum within the community more generally for this project. So the phases of our project, or at least the infrastructure side of our project, and I'll go into what other sides we have later, is to convene the Broadband Action Team and build relationships and conduct a needs evaluation and define the specific challenge within Morrow County, conduct speed tests, and then conduct initial community engagement through town halls, which we have done. So the first 3 steps we have done, and the bolded right in the middle is what we're working on right now and kind of in the middle process of, which is to collect and organize underlying data. How many households in the county are not connected? What's it going to cost to build infrastructure in those areas? And what is actually economically viable based on our estimate of the kind of grants that we can get? And then the next is write a project scope for a design build to create 3 different solutions for that infrastructure. And we settled on 3 different solutions primarily, and to go through the bidding process, because we understand that there are different variables and situations in which the county would receive less grant money or more grant money, depending on a couple of different factors, such as who's on the grant review process, what the actual grant rulemaking process looks like, which is all being played out right now at the state level, which I'll go into in a few minutes as well. And the stages after this are to prepare grant applications and get that submitted, as well as write a project scope and create a bid for the construction, which will come after the grant is granted, hopefully. We're optimistic that we will get at least some grant money due to the unprecedented level of funding, but we don't know how much yet. And all of this up to writing a project scope and creating a bid for construction, we hope to have by the 3rd quarter of 2022, because the 3rd quarter of 2022, right at the beginning, is when some of these notice of funding opportunities will be coming available, especially at the state level for the first round of broadband funding, excuse me. And then lastly, we would like to divide the infrastructure and create operating agreements and division if necessary, but to work with local ISP partners to really provide for the citizens within the county that currently are not connected or underserved. So the funding opportunities are large. There is at least $250 million coming to Oregon over the next 2 years in broadband infrastructure funding alone, in part from ARPA money that the state has received and has earmarked particularly for broadband, and the rest coming from the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which was recently passed, which we will probably see around the 4th quarter, a little longer timeline on that money than the initial ARPA money. The challenges that Morrow County faces are 1,700 or so households, more people that are currently underserved or unserved, a lot of them unserved, that we're working with multiple partners, and these grants are competitive across the state, and there is a lot of geographical area to cover within the county. The map that you're seeing on the right side of the screen is a served and unserved map of Morrow County. It's not necessarily completely served right now. If you see the middle part of Lexington, it's not served, but there's a plan to serve it based on a grant that has already been received by Columbia Basin. So the red largely represents areas in which we will be looking to have a design build for when we go out and try to find solutions. So there's a lot of ground to cover, but we're optimistic that we can get this done with the level of funding that will be coming in. The city of Boardman itself, I wanted to zoom in. A lot of this is a little tricky because more area than is in the green is served within Boardman. The number used for this map is 100 megabits down per second and 100 up, which is a speed that is only provided largely by the fiber technology, which is a newer technology that provides larger speeds or faster speeds, and will be necessary moving into the next 10, 20 years as we increase the number of devices that we have in our household and more people work either from home, do school from home, and stream on more devices at once. So the served in the green are areas within Boardman that currently offer 100 by 100, which is largely PDT fast within the city of Boardman. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now. The strengths of Boardman as an area working within the project as a whole are the BCDA and the projects that have already been in progress and continue to be moving into the future. The population of Boardman obviously is more dense, which makes it more viable to be one of the first build outs of a plan to be completed, just because it's a faster return on investment than some of the areas where population is more dispersed. And there are other providers and broader coverage other than the green, but they are insufficient, or at least what we consider to be insufficient, moving into the kind of future and future proofing we'd like to provide for the citizens within the county, as well as the community and economic institutions within the community. As you all know, very rich in businesses, very rich in community groups and in local government, as you are. The second kind of prong of our project is affordability and digital skills. There are currently programs that begun at the start of COVID, but have been continued indefinitely, that provide individuals and families relief on internet bills. So we know in areas where there are infrastructure, there are still a lot of people that don't pay or buy internet services. And so a big part of our project is to kind of look at the reasons for that. And we know there's a cultural gap in some part of this. There are also kind of a messaging gap, not only from the federal government itself, but the messaging really hasn't trickled down in areas throughout the state. But in Morrow County in particular, kind of signups for this program, which is called the Affordable Connectivity Program, are very low, and something that doesn't need to be. As the means testing or the criteria for being eligible for this program, which now is $30 off a monthly broadband bill or internet bill, which is 50% off for most prices. It's very non-invasive in terms of verification of somebody's income or if they qualify. And any student, any family who has a student that goes to school at a school that provides free and reduced lunch automatically qualifies for the program. And so helping get the word out about this program and helping families sign up is a part of our project as well. And you see the first two steps have been completed kind of in this conversation. And the second two that we're working on now are to create videos, both in English and Spanish, about this program in Morrow County, specifically local internet service providers and how they are providing the program within their own services. As well as compile a centralized online resource for both workforce training, the Affordable Connectivity Fund as well, and kind of telling the story of broadband within Morrow County and how it's progressed, the work Boardman has already done, and the work Columbia Basin is doing, and the work that we hope to do with our project. And once we have that all together, we'll begin distributing it, targeting on social media as well as in-person events, and then hopefully all of that will be done and ready to launch by April, hopefully sooner. And then also we would like to do workshops for most in-demand digital skills and career building, just to make sure Morrow County citizens, to the best of our ability, have the kind of digital foundation necessary to compete in the digital economy, as well as compete in positions that don't require remote work, but require a baseline of digital skills that aren't as common as we may think. Next, I just wanted to give a brief demo. This is a very preliminary kind of example of what our website is going to look like. Although I'm trying to reset the Zoom. Okay, here we go. So we kind of want to create a centralized website like this. Wait, this may not play. See if it's going out. I'm gonna play it from here. Oh, nope. All right, my apologies. The one time something chooses not to work is when it needs to. I apologize, but it will be a centralized website and kind of a resource center. What I did in a video was kind of scroll through it at what we have at this moment, but it would probably be useful to kind of polish it and get it more developed before I show you anyway. I can get it over to you if any of you are interested as we continue to kind of push it out and develop further. We have a couple of overarching questions for the project that will be answered down the line, but they're big questions, as in, you know, what type of build will we receive grant funding for, which tier, who will own the infrastructure itself, where will we find matching funds? These are kind of questions that we continue to deal with at the Broadband Action Team, and we will continue to kind of grapple with as we move down the line. Funds that we are looking for and likely be found at the county level, at least initially, we'll go to the legal assistance, grant writing, and a consultant for a design build, which will be 90% of our funds, and then community outreach, workshops, and affordability resources will be 10%. That's just a basic breakdown of what we think it will look like given the competitiveness that these grants will present, which with so many counties throughout the state right now, all preparing for this one moment of funding opportunity, that's kind of what it's going to look like. The prices from what it normally would be in seeking a grant writer specifically for broadband will be inflated. And lastly, the legislation at the state level to watch is Representative Marsh's broadband bill. It's House Bill 4092 and would, by implication, establish a grant rulemaking process and grant review committee. Excuse me. That is more favorable to rural and frontier communities right now than the current rulemaking process, which is largely dominated by national ISPs. So the Xfinities and the CenturyLinks, and the CenturyLink is not so much in that group as Charter Spectrum, which there's a real push from their lobbyists to make this money available more in kind of urban and densely populated areas that already have access, and to kind of put grants in the hands of communities that don't have this kind of digital divide and lack of infrastructure that we're looking at in more rural communities. This bill would address that, and it engages counties, cities, electric co-ops, PUDs, and smaller regional ISPs more so than in the status quo of the rulemaking process. And lastly, the bill would decrease the likelihood of infrastructure funds being moved away from their original purpose, which is to build infrastructure in rural areas like Morrow County in general, and to kind of move away from the national ISPs and what they would like to see the money go to, which is debatable, but I would say increasing their profitability while not actually solving the real problems and the intent of what this bill was really meant to be. So that is my last slide. I'm open for questions. Excuse me, I apologize for the video not working, but thank you for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Aaron. Is there anybody that has any questions? All right, Lisa.
Why not? Aaron, hi, Lisa Middlestar. I do have a couple questions. When do you think that those application packets are going to be available online?
I'm sorry, the what?
When do you think the applications for funding will be available? That's the first question. Second question is on the special grant for the $30 off for free and reduced families. Have you marketed that out on Facebook in English and Spanish? Are you trying to get the word out on that?
Yes. So the first question, the grant opportunities, the first wave of funding that will come from the state ARPA funds will be the beginning of the third quarter of 2022. That rulemaking process is happening right now and will be happening over the next couple of months, and we'll know more about exactly how to prepare the best application that we can. So that will become available in 5 months. And the second question is, yeah, we have put the affordable broadband, or the emergency broadband benefit, which is now the Affordable Connectivity Fund, that information on the Chamber's website that went out in a Chamber newsletter, as well as the county website in both English and Spanish. we understand that there's a certain irony to putting things online to get broadband service when a lot of people don't have it right now. But also, we also plan on doing a more kind of targeted and broader approach for that program over the next couple months as well. So we're really gonna kind of sprint forward and do a better job hitting all the bases that we can in person, online, and holding events to really do a better job at going out and seeking the people and the families out that could really benefit from the program.
So how do you get the $30 credit? I mean, is there a website that you go to? Or, I mean, what company, is that for all the companies in Boardman, or is that just for one company?
So there's a national online verifier, and I can get you the link right as I'm done talking. And you go and you basically qualify through this website, and then after that you contact your provider and they work with you to apply the discount. Every ISP, I believe, in Morrow County, including in Boardman, is signed up for this program. So if you do go through the verifier and are qualified, then they have to work with you to provide you with that discount. And they are willing to and happy to do it from my experience. So I can get that to you right away.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. Erin, have you considered just putting it out there to the school district, put on their website so that parents who are visiting their local school for information would have that as a component on those websites?
Yeah, I've went back and forth with the school district a little bit. There's been some hesitancy to work, to put out information about something that isn't directly related to school now that they're not completely online. Although they have been willing to work with us and find a way to do that as well. And I'm continuing to go back with them. And hopefully as we continue to push more on that affordable side, as opposed to the work that we've been doing the last couple of months is more on the infrastructure side, I will go back and revisit that, because that families are the core of what this program targets. And I will follow up and continue to work on doing that.
Yeah, Aaron, this is Mayor Kiefer. If you could send me that link, I'd really appreciate it, because I can share it with my school and Sam Boardman and try to send that out to individuals to get the word out to kids, to share with their parents, because that's really important.
I will get that to you right away.
If you had a flyer or something, I could post flyers, and then probably the strongest thing we can do is get the word out to a few parents, and then it'll sort of flow from there pretty quickly. So we had flyers, goes on school districts' web pages for their schools, next to school closures. Look at this.
All right.
That's the first I've ever heard of this, so.
Facebook, absolutely.
All right, I will get the link to you tonight and then some flyers out to you tomorrow.
All right, perfect. Anybody else have any questions that they have for Aaron? Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, public comment. Let's go ahead and let's see, who do we have for public comment? Anybody out there have any public comment they'd like to have? I hear crickets, so that means there probably is no public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Kelly Doherty.
Hi, Kelly, go ahead, you're on.
Okay, thank you. This is Kelly Doherty, 68812 Wilson Lane, Boardman, Oregon. It's my belief that the governing body of the city of Boardman has deliberated to a decision and taken official action on that decision in violation of the open meeting laws under ORS 192-610 through 690 of the state of Oregon. In addition, also violating Boardman Charter of 1985, Chapter 3, Section 8, 16, and 19. Your local government, according to Chapter 3 of your charter, Section 8, is made up of the mayor and 6 council members. the proceedings in section 16 say that you will deliberate and the council be part and authenticated by the state law and any other exceptions. I don't believe that this decision fell under any of those exceptions to go under closed deliberations. The enforcement for this proceeding could be, according to 192-680, a decision made by a governing body of a public body in violation of 192-1610 through 1690 may be voidable. This decision was made without a notice, without a motion, without discussion, without comments, a vote, or any minutes taken. This action, this decision was put forth through by the city government body. I would like to know how this decision was made, where this decision was made, and who voted, who made what motions, and how the heck this ever came to be. In addition to violating those rules, this violates due process clause of the United States Constitution, number 14, and other due process protections at future hearings. There's only 3 requirements for due process. One is notice, one is a hearing, and one is an impartial tribunal. This is going to jeopardize a lot of hearings in the future. I would like answers to how this decision was made, and I would like them tonight. I would like to call for an answer from the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Do we have a response to that? As far as what she's talking about?
No, we'd have to call our attorney and see. I don't know what she's talking about.
You don't know what she's talking about?
Well, I don't, personally, I don't study all those ORS rules and that, so.
Do we know what meeting she's talking about? Or what?
Or what decision?
Do we know what subject she's talking about?
Well, there's a hearing scheduled for the council on the 15th on this hearing.
Can I interact?
Yes, Kelly. Go ahead.
I'm talking about the motion to withdraw a decision under the ORA. Actually, it's under 197-830-13B and an ORA 661-1021-2. It was a decision to withdraw your decision. And that's what decision I'm talking about.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
there was no meeting because that was a decision made by our council to withdraw on our behalf.
Can you hear that, Kelly?
No, I did not hear that.
Oh, okay.
So there was not a convened meeting because it was not a decision made by the council. Our legal counsel with staff made the decision to rescind our decision, and there will be a public meeting to address this in the future.
Because we could repeal that.
I believe that.
And then that.
Pardon me?
We repeal that, so that gives everybody time to go back to whatever. It would give you time to rethink about if you wanted to continue with LUBA. Because after we'll correct the errors that you've pointed out, we'll correct those by withdrawing this, and then we'll reapply it probably.
I understand that perfectly. What I understand is when the governing body of the city of Boardman made this decision. It's not a decision for council, it's for legal counsel. It's the decision of the governing body, and I would like to know when the decision was made.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
We can't get into the details of this.
Okay.
This is under public comment, so it was not on the agenda, so we probably need to move on.
So, so Kelly, what they did is they explained what they did and, why they did that. Is that something that we want to get information and share at the next meeting?
There will be a hearing scheduled.
The 15th.
Oh, so this is gonna be discussed on the 15th of February, I do believe.
Correct. On the whole count.
So
I
we're gonna
believe
talk-
that, I
Go
believe
ahead.
that discussion, I believe that discussion is limited. I believe that discussion needs to be had here.
Well, we won't be able to have it here during public comment because we need to put it on agenda if we're gonna be able to discuss the issue. We're gonna be able to discuss it in great detail on the 15th of February, because I do believe that's the only thing that's on the agenda that day, is that public hearing, right?
Well, we may have a.
Again,
Or after.
Again, I'd like to say that that public meeting has been limited to discussion. And so I would like to put this on the agenda for the next city council meeting.
Okay, so we put it on
You can take it under advisement.
the, okay, the city has said that they will take it under advisement.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for sharing your concerns. I just want to let you know that, as the mayor, I think it's important that we have citizens that share their concern, whether they think they're being heard or not. I do appreciate, people sharing, and we need more of that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
I think I saw Mr. Tallman trying to, the little yellow bar saying he had something he'd like to share.
Yes, well, there was a comment made about we don't pay attention to ORS codes, to procedures and process. That's the most important thing, is for the procedures and process. And I really agree with you, Mayor Kiefer, that it is important to have a dialogue. But if you don't follow the procedures and process, then and you don't even follow those things, what's the point of even having procedures and process if you're not going to follow the procedures and process? I mean, it's totally sad what is happening about the process not being made. And I right now want to say that Chris Crean, the person that the city has hired for the land use, okay, I'm gonna file a Freedom of Information Act to ask how much his contract is and how much the city is paying for him, because I truly believe he is paid just to fight land use issues that could have been handled by being open and transparent through this whole procedure. And this is exactly goes to what's going on with the process not being followed, because it was an application that was filled out, okay, improperly, and the city still voted on it, okay, and then they rescinded it. So there's actually an appeal that you have to pay around $250, and that was never refunded because the city then said, no, wait, we talked to council and we don't want to do it. Well, there's an open air procedure that needs to be followed in that to make sure that it's rescinded the proper way in public disclosure, but it wasn't. It was done by the city staff, and those procedures and processes are not being followed, and they need to be followed. That's it. Thank you for listening.
You bet. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to share? Okay, having hearing none, we'll go to resolution 2-2022, street name changes, Tuscany 3 subdivision.
Let's turn it over. So
That's what I was kind of.
The final plat was recorded with the county with street names that were inconsistent and duplicative. They put in another Rome Street instead of Tiber Street and Tiber Court. So this resolution is just basically cleaning that up so it can be refiled, so the plat can be recorded.
a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Beagle.
So, if I understand this correctly, Gary, you're saying that Tiger Court and Tiger Street will be renamed Rome Street?
No, opposite.
Rome Street will be renamed.
Rome, there's two Rome Streets.
Okay, so one's gonna be Tiger Court, the other's Tiger Street.
Tiger Street is more of a through, and then Tiger Court is a cul-de-sac at the end of it.
Okay, that's what I need to clarify. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We're talking about this one here, right? This one,
The resolution.
Well, and it has the map attached.
Oh, that's right.
yeah, I see the map here, but so we're talking about the highlighted areas in yellow. Is that what we're talking about here? That we're changing?
Yes.
So Naples is gonna be Catone Street, because that's gonna be inconsistent with Catone. I just wondered,
Naples is going to be that, Juniper disappears, it's just a, public work, half of a public right of way. This is only 30 foot wide.
oh, so the name of the street's not Future Rights Away?
It'll be future right of way.
That's the name we're gonna put on a street sign?
No, there's not gonna be a street. It's
Well, that's what I'm
just-
asking.
It's just a right of way for a future street.
So is that, so it says in there it's gonna be named Future Rights.
It's not gonna be a street, it'll just be the right of way, so that. when you-
So like an alleyway.
Yeah, well, whenever you get ready to build.
Well, I would say that if it's good, it says rename Future Rights Way, that's telling me the name of the street, Future Right Way. I get what
It
you're
just shows that it is a future right of way.
dude, you're talking Greek language to me, I'm trying to understand.
The
So
right
what I'm
of way,
saying is I get the idea of right of way, but don't tell me that it's gonna be named Future Right of Ways. Because that's what it says.
on the recording, it will say that it's a future right of way. There won't be any street sign or any street there.
Well,
If the word future is the problem here. What he's trying to say is in the future, it will be a right of way.
so then.
With a name that will be attached to it at a later time.
And then.
Is that what
they'll
you're
name it
saying?
whenever they don't have a street.
Sure, but in the resolution, it says Juniper Road will be renamed Future Rights of Way.
And that's.
So if you don't want it to be named Future Rights of Way, you shouldn't say that's what you want to rename it.
That's what I'm getting at, because that's, to me, that.
But we need to have it recorded on the.
Oh.
It needs to be reworded. Because it's.
So what you're trying to say is you need it to say that because it needs to be recorded that way, is that what you're telling me?
Yep,
But that's not gonna be the name of the street.
no,
You know, and for years, we've had the one from Oregon Trail that goes to Taylor called Future Boulevard. I mean, I think you'll see,
clear back before I got.
and you'll see paperwork with that saying Future Boulevard. And, you know, it wasn't ever gonna be named Future Boulevard, it just, we knew that we needed to plan.
Well, I think this is a perfect example of expecting the council to understand what you're saying.
No, I agree.
And that's why, and so when we ask questions, I mean, I wouldn't take it that we're challenging you. I'm just trying to get a better idea, because if I take it verbally as what it says in the resolution, and on here, oh, that's gonna be the name of the street on a street sign, and I'm like, oh,
It is also capital.
yes,
Can the council agree to, that the last part, Juniper Road will be recorded as future rights of way?
Sure. So,
If you can accept that.
Oh, I-
Approve it tonight.
because that's what you're doing, is you're recording it, right?
Yep,
Yeah. That makes sense to me, in my wise knowledge of how streets and things are done. I mean, but yeah, that makes, I mean, that's all we were trying to do, Barrett.
so I have a question.
So Rome Street, if you're looking at the map, and the map is north, then the North Rome Street is gonna be called Tiger Street. And then the South Rome Street that has the cul-de-sac will be called Tiger Court.
That's correct.
What is the road gonna be called that connects the two together, north and
That's
south? No, the other one at the end, the loop.
The loop.
Oh, that's, Rome Drive goes around to Lucas Street. And on the other side, on another map, Anthony goes around and they'll both end basically at Lucas Street, which is the tie between phases 1 and 2.
Okay, but we're renaming the northern Rome Street Tiger Street, so it'll be Tiger all the way to Luca.
No, if you're looking at the map from the north, that north room that's not highlighted is going to stay Rome.
That was my question, so it says on here.
And the
rename it
bottom will
twice.
be renamed Tiger to go with Tiger Court, which is the cul-de-sac that dead ends next.
Okay,
So Rome
this
Street.
Rome Street will remain Rome Street.
Yes.
The existing Rome Street will, that's
But
where-
here's the deal, they don't know what the existing Rome Street's at necessarily.
Right, because you got two of them, I realize you got this marked in yellow, and this shows that there's, so this is confusing.
This is Rome Street right here.
Right, but what's confusing is you have Rome Street will be named Tiger Court, and then Rome Street will be named Tiger Street.
So you're saying
Southern.
the northern street, Rome Street will loop around
To Luca.
to Luca and hook up to Tiger.
And to Tiger.
So I don't see.
I don't see Anthony.
I don't see Anthony.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, may I interject, please?
Yes, you may, Leslie.
Perhaps the fact that the resolution refers to Tuscany Phase 3 is sufficient alone, as the other Rome Street previously and currently named is in Tuscany Phase 2 and therefore may not be relevant to this conversation.
Which means we could just take out Rome Street will be renamed Tiger.
And or simply clarify, if necessary, that this does in fact refer to Tuscany Phase 3.
We don't know that.
So Leslie, you still have us at a disadvantage.
I say we just send this back and you guys fix it and send it back to us. That's what I would say.
I would agree with
When
that.
you look at the official plat recorded documents, the ones with the signatures, they will identify it at the top as the proper phase. So perhaps what we're looking at right now is just a mock copy for ease of understanding.
Okay, so I guess for me, I would like something something that I can understand, because I'm totally lost. And I'm sorry, but I'm talking in circles, so.
Well, you're not alone, Mr. Mayor.
So that's what I do. I would request that we, put this on next,
Thank you.
yeah.
Is there any urgency?
What do you say?
Is there any urgency on this?
I don't think so.
I agree.
Okay, let's just do that, because this was great.
It's just paperwork.
Yeah, all right, we'll move on. Correspondence, I'll go to the police report.
Everybody should have in their packet the police report for the first month of the year. And you can look at it, was pretty blank, but I assure you, I add to those numbers over the years, so. Those numbers and looking at last year's when I was preparing this report are kind of in line with what we have been last year, so. It has been busy, so. Are there any questions about that report? Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody have any questions about the building department report? How about the public works department? I like this. Because I don't know how many people, I exercise with the person every morning who wants to know what the public works guy does. And, I don't know, it'd be kind of nice if there was just some way that we could put some, well, other than, I'm sure, just put it online to be able, where people, if they want to, they can look and see exactly what people do. Whether it be the packet, where they could underline, or look on the, and see that, because I think this is important information that would be good, because like, what does public works guy do? I said, well, just take a look around our town, what do they do? Kind of looks kind of nice, but, you know, that's not the answer he wants. This is pretty good stuff, so. Thank you, Barry. But I was thinking, I was talking, earlier, when we, post the, for the meetings, do we attach the agenda to like a PDF on there?
The agenda,
Agenda, can we, is there a way to put non-confidential stuff on there with the, like the packet, so people can see that as we go along?
it would probably be easier since public works report, just have a section on the website for public works.
No, I was just thinking, so I go and watch the school board, and they have their agenda and their packet and stuff, and I don't know what they're looking at.
Right.
And it's frustrating as all get out. And so I was thinking, well, gosh, we're kind of the same way. People get online, they don't get to see what we're seeing, and sometimes we don't talk about everything. But I was like, okay, if it was confidential, that only we need to see, then it doesn't need to be on there. But wouldn't it be nice if it was online and somebody could like, hey, I can see exactly what they're going through. I can see the packet, and if I don't want to be online for the whole hour and a half, 2 hours, I can say, oh, okay, and then go on. Or if we didn't do that, then we could at least attach non-confidential things with the link.
Just for clarification, we should not have anything non-confidential in our packet in the open city council meeting, ever. So if.
So everything that's on here, we should be able to present?
Absolutely, to anybody who walks through the door. It's a public city council meeting.
Right, and it's really all the packet, which has happened in the past, we just put in public records requests and then.
But I was just thinking that would be kind of nice if I was watching online, that I could just follow along with the agenda, just a thought. I don't know.
The county does a really nice job. If you get a chance to go to the county website, you go to their meetings and minutes, I think it is. And they have their agenda, they have details, and then they have like more details. And so like you say, if you want to go and look, and I scroll down here and I can copy one page and read it, or I can read the whole thing. But yeah, they do a really nice job. And we're gonna, our things to get accomplished is redoing our website. And so hopefully that will be.
I'm just thinking it might be as easy as a click of a button to be able, I don't know what our system is, but, you know, it would just be a nice thought.
No, I was definitely something to consider.
I appreciate it.
No,
I do appreciate the work that you do. Any questions about what we've talked about so far? City manager report.
Okay. I want to make sure that you know that, we're gonna meet over at the senior center for breakfast on Saturday, and then we'll start here at 8:30. So, I sent you in your packet quite a number of attachments, so that you can read some of the stuff that has been going on, and I put the, our public notice in here and what the agenda for the thing, and I put your, how much each entity received from the press board, so you can look at that. I think things are, I think they're just going along. You can, I think I tried to include most everything that you'd be interested in, I guess. Oh, I did want to make sure you noticed that Hermiston was raising their water and sewer rates today, and I just couldn't pass up that. Because it's kind of, I mean, it's an amount, for sure, so.
Well, and they don't start at a low number like we do.
No.
Their 3.5% or 3.45% is substantial, given what they currently already pay.
Well, and it's the gallons, where it's the gallons you use is where they really get you. So, yeah. So, no, we're a good place to.
Hey, Mr. Beagle, are you planning on being there on Saturday? I know you said you had something earlier.
No, not for the breakfast.
Okay, but for the meeting, you said you would be able to.
Maybe a few minutes late, but yes. I'll-
Okay, we'll plan on seeing, okay. I remember you saying something, but I don't recall everything. Did you have anything else, Mrs. Pettigrew?
No, I think that's good.
Any counselor comments?
I have a few questions.
Yes.
For our appeal that we have coming up, will we be expecting to receive any more information to go over? Or has all information that will need to be up to snuff on, we've already been given?
We will probably get a little bit more before the hearing. They always keep to come in, day or two before the hearing. Price bills. I think you issued. Public notice went out. Not advance. So. And we've got the council looking at it as well.
And we'll send you whatever, so that you know that you have studied. Yeah.
I've seen the links to some of the past meetings that were sent over and watched those meetings as well. I just didn't know if we were to expect anything between all of that. My other question was, we talked about computers for everyone's easeability. Did we, or did the city settle on a model?
So we have the computers on hand, they came in today, part of them did, the others should be here tomorrow. We're waiting for some software, I'm hoping tomorrow between IT and myself, we can get them all completed and turn over to you on Saturday. That's the goal.
Yeah.
If everything comes through.
And two, I want to make sure in my message, I said that I asked you to come to a February 15th meeting without asking me, but as you hear, we're going to have a public hearing on the 15th, and so I need a quorum. So that night at 7. And we can have a public hearing and a city council meeting on the same night. If I decide, there's a couple of little items. I forgot now what they were. Oh, you had something maybe that we could just look at. It wouldn't take us long. And if we decide that, I'll let you know. We'll publish that we're gonna have a city council meeting that night. But for sure, the 15th, we're gonna have a public hearing. So.
I know I had a question, it's not the mayor part, but on the public hearing for tomorrow, that's a lot of, what does that mean in English? The quasi judicial public hearing, what does that mean? For what is
There's four different types of decisions. Ministerial, which is a type 1, administrative, which is type 2, which is done by staff inside boxes. And then 3 is the planning commission, which is a quasi judicial body. And then type 4 is legislative, that's when it gets your guess.
So they're having so that's saying that the planning commission is having a public hearing on LU 22-001,
Yes,
appeal of ZIP 21-06, what's that?
zoning permit,
So it's basically an appeal over a zoning
over
permit.
a type 2 decision, yes.
This one is the second one, UEC, when they applied the first one, which was the number 31 that you're hearing now, at this, still going through this. Then they came back and reapplied to put power lines on, they left out 2 lots, they were Tolman's lots on the first application. Now they've come back and asked to have those put on the Tolman's, and that zoning permit is that 21-066. So we posted it, and the Tolmans came in and appealed it immediately. And so then we're gonna go back again through this process of, you know, they appealed it, so now the planning commission will hear it. And then, you know, if they don't like what the planning commission says.
There's another appeal, which it goes to the city council. I was just kind of curious because I remember somebody was asking me and I said, I didn't understand the language, so that was good. So I was just looking for a easier way for me to explain it. Now I can explain it. Any other councilor comments?
I have another question.
Yes.
Eric, in the public comments by Mrs. Kelly, that's not her first name, yes. Kelly, you know, there's mention of like ORS number with no disrespect to the things that she mentioned. And I personally am not very fluent on a lot of this. Is there a way that I could get information on the numbers or the things that are being mentioned in meetings like this where I could at least understand what I should be looking for / noting on some
trying to
someone's regular to me?
What's that? I'll try to put something together as to what she's commented and the statutes that she cites.
Thank you. I know that I could also, I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. I know that I could also go back to YouTube and I could rewatch our meeting and I could find the number, but if there is maybe some type of link or something, maybe expanding just a little bit more, I know that I'm not gonna come back, you know, professor of all of this stuff, but if I could just try to understand what's being cited to us, and it would be greatly appreciated for me.
Well, what's gonna be really great when I give you your new little iPad or Surface thing, you can go look up ORS, put the numbers in and read to your heart's content.
Well, I don't need a new iPad to do that. I've got my phone and other things as well. It's more just, I would like to make sure that me looking on my own accord, which would just be going to the YouTube video and looking what she cited. I'd like to make sure I'm not just limiting myself to the few numbers that was mentioned. And if there's like a wider range of information that I should also be considering, I would like to consider that. Please.
And thank you.
And thank you. No one said it, but yeah, and thank you. I appreciate it very much.
All right. Anybody else have anything?
It's nice to get a quarterly report from the chamber.
Yeah. I think I put it in there a time or two before. I know at least once.
Okay.
Well,
5 years ago.
Maybe I didn't bring a package. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have, so you kind of.
Absolutely.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna recess into an executive session. ORS 192.6602E, real estate, And then we're gonna return and let you know what happens. Whether we may or may not have a decision. So this meeting is hereby recessed.
Was there?
We,
Just a minute, I'm gonna put people in the waiting room
okay,
so they can come back if they choose.
so we're not muted.
No.
Okay,
Did you have a separate need for executive session or were you in the same one?
I think we're just using the same.
Okay, and then, she's referring to ORS 192 public meetings, which there's, if you can figure it all out, have fun, because it's a pretty lengthy statute, but.
ORS.
Chapter
192.
You're still recording.
we're still recording.
So are we ready to go into?
Yes, we're ready to go into executive session. All right, we're gonna come back into, and resume our City of Boardman City Council meeting, February 1st, 2022. Is there any action we want to take as far as what we discussed in executive session?
Well, I would like to move that we give permission for the city manager or the deputy city manager to negotiate acreage for sale that we currently own at the price of $50,000 an acre to any interested parties.
I will second that. If that.
Discussion.
I would like to move to amend that without the
Yes.
price per
Not
acre,
for price.
please.
Oh,
I will second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the amended without the price. Is there any discussion that we'd like to do? I guess my discussion was, do we want to open up to anybody? Or do we want to specifically go after a couple people?
So, Mr. Mayor, you've had offers from, and I think that's what you need to focus on. You've had an offer, so you want to have the city manager negotiate with those individuals to see if that transaction will come to fruition. If it doesn't, then it doesn't, but at least she has the authority to negotiate those real estate transactions.
Does that motion do that?
With the language I just said, yes.
With what we just, what our motion has? I guess that's what I'm getting at. Does our motion allow our city managers, I'm calling you two city managers, because you're both, permission to negotiate a price? Did we give that permission in our motion?
so the motion that we have on the floor could die for a lack of,
It's already gotten a second.
oh, it's already got a second.
Yeah, so we got a second, so I guess what I'm trying to make before we vote, to make sure that our motion says what we want it to say. Because we want to give the city manager permission to negotiate, right? Isn't that what our motion is?
What is the verbiage of the motion?
Really?
Okay, well, I was asking. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
so I guess to make it clear, maybe you move forward on the motion. You could cast your vote, yes or no. If the motion doesn't pass, then you could rephrase your motion so that, or accept another motion that would be a little clearer, maybe.
So, yeah, I was just trying to figure out, because he amended it, and I want to make sure that we know that we want the city managers to negotiate. I just want to make sure we have the right verbiage for what we want.
So Brenda, would I be wrong to say that your intention for your motion and the language you're wanting to consider is to authorize the city manager and or her designee to enter into negotiations with the parties that have made offers on real estate within the city of Boardman, and continue to negotiate a sale of those properties.
I believe that's what I said, but I added a dollar value. So I truly believe that I said to authorize to negotiate for the sale of property with interested parties. I didn't stipulate which interested parties because I don't know. I mean, I do know who might be interested. If you want me to be more specific, I'm happy to do that.
I think if you just.
Let's just vote it down.
So-
Yeah, let's just vote it down and,
Roll call vote.
and do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not the judge.
Leslie.
Leslie, they're calling for a vote.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part that we are voting on or not voting on.
We're voting to vote down the previous motion so we can say it right.
I understand. I am voting to vote down the previous motion.
No. Okay. I'll be Bill.
No.
Katie.
I'm voting to vote down.
Junior.
I will vote no.
Isaac.
No.
Brenda.
No.
Paul Kiefer.
No. All right, so we're working on a motion to make sure that we say it right.
I'll try.
Not to say that you said it wrong, to just make sure.
Junior's
I
right.
will try to do this one more time. So I would like to make a motion. I move to allow the city manager to enter in negotiations with individuals interested in city property and
Negotiate the sale of those properties.
sales of those properties and make that decision.
Well, I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Yes, Mr. Beagle.
I would like to amend the motion to add designee or designee.
Instead of interested individuals?
No, the city manager or designee.
No designee.
Oh,
Do we need to vote it down again?
no, you can just, I think we can second it with a,
With the amendment.
with the amendment.
Second of the amendment.
Okay. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call.
Okay. Leslie.
Yes.
Paul Beagle.
Approve.
Katie.
Yes.
Junior.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Brenda.
Yes.
And Paul Kiefer.
Yes. All right, so that takes all of our, take care of everything, right?
Except for, Mr. Mayor, if I might, for the good of the order. So after our work session on Saturday, we would like to see if any of the counselors would like to come over to our training room where we have a scenario type trying to think of the
Simulator.
a simulator for training for law enforcement. It's a pretty interesting process. It's an interactive where you give commands to the video, and depending on how you proceed, you may end up in a shooting, you may end up just in a fight, a fist fight, or you may end up walking away with it. So if you engage, you will actually have training weapons, and it's a great experience if you haven't done it. It's not meant to embarrass anybody. I think you'll be quite surprised.
It is an eye opener.
You'll be quite surprised on how you would react in certain situations. And so it's a great opportunity. It's something that we were funded with some grant funding from UEC. And I can't remember where, maybe it was some CRES funds, I think. She's not here, that we used to purchase this training equipment, but it's a great opportunity. So if you have some time, please let us know so that we can try to schedule, because I got to bring staff in to run it. So
if we can get done with our meeting early, because I have to be at the high school at 12:30.
What time?
At 12:30.
Oh, no chance.
I have an appointment I have to be at
No chance of what, being done by our meeting by 12:30?
If it goes like our normal meetings, no.
It usually goes till 2, right?
I thought we scheduled only the morning, 8 to 12.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, that's part, I mean, I'd like to be done by noon and so.
We're gonna be done by noon because,
Yeah, okay.
I can't be.
Yeah, I have to be somewhere.
And that's great, we just need to make sure we stay focused.
Yeah, we
and
gotta
not
stay
get into
on
these
script,
big
guys.
debates. Otherwise, we're never gonna get done. I mean, and this is a very important, this is a very important workshop. This is where we set down the goals of the council over the next year.
Should we bring our breakfast over here, maybe grab it there and just come straight here so we can get going?
I don't plan on going to breakfast, but
Yeah, I mean, I could do it without it.
Just show up here at 8:30
8:30?
and if you go to breakfast, go at 7:30.
The city, just make sure you let them know your city and then we'll pay for your lunch.
Otherwise,
or
leave here at
breakfast.
8:30.
We're trying to support the senior center.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, absolutely.
And
What day is the senior
I don't
center?
know.
so then
They do
we
lunch, so Tuesdays, Thursdays.
won't provide lunch then for you guys, right? Or do you want us to get?
yeah,
box
I
lunch?
won't be, yeah, I'm gonna be running to get, if I leave at noon, I'm gonna be, I
Okay,
have to go through Oregon and pick up my dad and then have him in town, so.
okay. Oh, okay. Well, and there's always the day after. There's always another Saturday for a workshop.
Anyway, thank you, Leslie.
Be once a month.
Huh?
I was told this was only gonna be once a month. It looks like we're gonna have 6 meetings this month.
Probably. I tell you, this appeals thing has just gotten out of hand.
Is there anything good, the
Or
order
do you want to go through that?
Absolutely.
I would like to, we're just gonna have to get the meeting get done soon.
Okay.
I'm tentative, so
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Brandon?
I would love to.
I won't be able to.
Either that or I'll have to make.
Physically unable to.
That's all.
Okay,
I
I will
have
try
to
to do it
have
another
to-
time for you.
If I'm the only one, then you just can.
No, we have good fours, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So we'll
fine.
plan on doing that. Okay, that's all I have.
Leslie wants to do it.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Cool. So is there anything else good for the order? This meeting is adjourned.